Proposals for development close to home tend to spark strong reactions from concerned residents. These reactions often come from a place of genuine worry about the safety of the average family's greatest asset, their home. However, when these fear-based reactions become so strong that communities begin to oppose all change, even change that is necessary and ultimately for the good of the community, it can create new problems. This is being seen in real time on Salt Spring Island, where both land and water are precious resources. They are under the governance of a unique organization, the Islands Trust, who oversee the Southern Gulf Islands with the ultimate goal of preserving and protecting the sensitive environments they hold. This places a special emphasis on the ecosystems over the people that are inhabiting the area and need access to these limited resources. To help manage these contending needs, special zoning regulations have been put in place to limit the growth of the island in terms of population and development to ensure that residents have access to potable water while maintaining the environmental protections the Trust strives for. However, even with these limits in place, the island has had water-related concerns despite not being near capacity.
We go into drought every summer.
Overuse of water sources has led to shrinking aquifers and groundwater tables, which has led to a higher risk of saltwater intrusion for wells along the coast. As a result, most of Salt Spring's water comes from surface water sources like reservoirs. These bring their own challenges, from limited replenishment due to changes in rainfall patterns to higher evaporation rates brought by hotter summers, lowering availability. Despite this, rules regarding water usage continue to be more stringently applied to new builds, while previously existing structures are free to use more than their share.
A higher density housing development done formally has less per person pressure on groundwater than the individual homesteads and houses that have their own well, which absolutely nobody monitors the consumption from in any way.
Part of combating this has included regulating how many structures per property are allowed to connect to the communal water supply. This remains at one hookup, forcing any additional dwellings to rely on wells, recycled water, and rainwater collection. While this may sound like a good way of managing the impact on water availability by new residents, it's exacerbating another problem on the island: a lack of housing. Currently, 40% of the population is over the age of 65. As these community members age out of the workforce, it is becoming more and more difficult to replace them, as people who are keen to make a life on the island simply can't find or can't afford housing. The restrictions on water hookups cause price increases due to the implementation and management of these auxiliary systems, and many are being forced to find places to live that are off-island as a result. Locations like Crofton, outside of Duncan, where there is a direct ferry to Salt Spring Island, boast cheaper rental prices, but the environmental impact of needing to commute so far each day just for work runs counter to the goals of the Islands Trust. More are choosing to simply make do with the resources available by illegally camping in forests or living out of their vehicles. Businesses are routinely understaffed, especially in the busy summer months when tourists flock to the island destination. Healthcare workers are desperately needed on the island to support and care for the aging populace, but without a place to live, how can people be expected to take jobs there? While residents' concerns over ongoing availability of clean drinking water are valid, the reality is that if they can't find a way to limit usage across the board while increasing access to water and to affordable housing options to renew the workforce, it could lead to the slow death of the community.
If not a majority, at least a large plurality of the residents of Gulf Islands tend to see themselves as having left urban life, wanting to sort of do things more their own way, and feeling misunderstood, feeling like the people who come with regulations are coming with an urban lens, don't understand the needs and wants and challenges of rural life or life on islands, and feeling offended that an outside body has to come in and regulate because there was some magical time in the past when there was a small enough population that kind of self-regulated by being sensible, rugged, back to the land type people.
Fear is a natural reaction to change and development, as it can threaten how assets like an own home are valued. But the community needs to recognize that these assets will depreciate even more from a lack of change. This brand of NIMBYism requires logic and rationale to override these fears, and if it can't be mitigated, the community will suffer the consequences.